What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Cleveland Pulse YouTube channel. Me, Justin Harold, along with Logan. No, Jeff. Again, we are doing these back-to-back videos following the Darius Garland signing the max deal for 5 years with the Cleveland Cavaliers. But now, Logan and I are going to talk a little bit more in depth about another former potentially remaining Cleveland Cavalier, Collin Sexton. Logan, you've been on the sideline for a little bit. You obviously got a little bit of time to talk in the first video, but now a topic that I know you've been keeping your eye on and you've been watching, you've been monitoring with free agency. You can talk a little bit about that as well. But what are your thoughts as of right now? We're in day 3 of free agency with the Cavs making moves, making extensions, making signings. What are your thoughts on Collin Sexton, and what are your thoughts on this team as of right now?
What does the Garland contract mean for Collin Sexton? That's the question everybody asked on Twitter 5 minutes after the signing. Like, can't we just sit here and be happy for Garland? But I get it. This is a situation now. I'm going to make the bold prediction and say this might just end the Sexton backcourt. Unless Sexton's willing to pick up that qualifying offer that was extended. I wouldn't blame him for going to get more money. But I think when it comes to Sexton now, the Cavaliers may have made their choice. I didn't expect this. Me, you, and Jeffrey monitor pretty much everything Kobe Altman does. And it seemed like the most Kobe Altman thing was to sign Collin Sexton for the fans, right? Yeah. And yeah, for the talent, I'm not going to disrespect him. Every time I talk about Sexton, I think I'm going off to the rails a little bit. I always try to correct myself because at the end of the day, I still have respect for him. I'm always going to like him. He's a Cleveland Cavalier. And if he's a Cleveland Cavalier this season, great. Yeah. But the way I'm looking at it is money at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. I said to you guys in the group chat when I couldn't make the last couple of shows you guys did, I said, oh my God, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought at the moment, Justin. So many thoughts running through my head. But
you had a lot of thoughts that you wanted to tell us about.
I did. Yeah. And I'll get into the free agency and what I like so far and things like that. But, this is, like I said, a growing moment for the Cavaliers. This is that fork in the road. Yeah. You talk about what Minnesota just did. Just had a great season. Patrick Beverley's like their heart and soul. They say, sorry, bye. We're taking the next step. We're getting Rudy Gobert. Yep. Every team that is rebuilding, that is trying to make that next step, they got to rip off something like a Band-Aid. And it's going to sting. It's going to hurt. It's going to suck. But it's part of the bigger picture. Is Sexton the right person? I don't know. We were 8-5 with him last year until he got hurt. It's a small sample size. Yep. But Garland doesn't have the season he does unless Sexton goes down. It's a bittersweet thing. It's a thing that, is going to happen when a player gets an opportunity, they're going to run with it. So when it comes to Collin Sexton, I don't know what this means. I think Dallas has to be a suitor. Losing Jalen Brunson, I think that's the most likely suitor at the moment. You got to just wait and see. I love Luka Doncic. I think him and Sexton could actually be kind of an interesting tandem. I don't know how well it would work, but putting some speed out there with Luka, who might be slow as molasses, that could be an interesting little pairing together. But I'll stop there real quick. We'll get into free agency in a second while I think of what I was going to say.
Yeah, it's definitely tough for Collin because obviously the injury really, in his greater scheme of things, screws him for this offseason. Obviously, his market has absolutely dried up. I think when you can even make the argument, though, that he made a mistake. I think the offer of 3 years, $51 million was supposedly put out to him at some point during the season or the offseason so far before the draft, I'd say. And Collin did not take it up on that offer. You can sign an extension whenever, I believe. And so he misses out on that deal. And he gets sent the qualifying offer, which is, I believe, $7.2 or $7.4 million, which, if you get Collin Sexton on a $7.2, $7.4 million deal, and it's a 1-year deal, I don't know how qualifying offers work. I imagine that it's a 1-year deal. And you let him play it out. You let him, come off the bench or do whatever you think is best, whatever JB Bickerstaff thinks is best. You get an asset. You get an asset to trade potentially later on in the season. You let things develop. You see what happens with this roster. Jeff and I tried to talk about it extensively in the past couple of videos. The roster is just becoming, so filled out. It's almost like we have guys that have been pushed to the back now. Lamar Stevens, Chetty Osman, Dean Wade, a lot of these guys who played good minutes, who played valuable time in the regular season. And now you've gone through the draft, you've gone through free agency, you've gotten Ricky Rubio back, you got Robin Lopez, you got Ochai Agbaji. It's the roster spots are starting to become very few and far to come. Sexton, if he comes back, man, where's he going to fit into this lineup? Where is he going to fit into this rotation? I think that's why it's very clear at this point they're going to let it play out to the very end. He might develop a market, but at this point in time, like you said, it's got to be Dallas and only Dallas at this point, right?
Yes, that's what I believe. There's less and less spots and less money by the day with the Cavaliers. And I'd say the bigger concern, not concern, it's really a good thing at the end of the day, is the spots. I mean, your backup five right now is Ricky Rubio, Ochai Agbaji, Karis LeVert, I'm assuming Sexton's staying at the moment, Kevin Love, and Robin Lopez. I mean, that is so solid to come off your bench. And if I can just touch on Rubio and Lopez for a moment, I think you guys weren't as high in the Lopez signing maybe as I was. I think having a veteran who's gonna make the locker room laugh, who has for some reason the most unstoppable, ugliest looking hook shot I've ever seen in my life that always goes in. I mean, I like just having that talent. He's extended his range to the 3-point line. He's going to have his rivalry with Moondog, because for some reason the Lopez brothers have a weird obsession with fighting with mascots. But the bigger one is Ricky Rubio, right? Because Rubio said his biggest goal was to make Darius Garland a better player last year. That was his biggest goal. And he got Garland a head start. He got him out of the blocks before Rubio had to sit. Yeah, he went down with his injury. This gives him the chance to once again see how far Garland's come and now teach him the next nuance of what he can do. Because I think Rubio, coming out of the draft, many people thought he was going to be an all-star point guard. He's always just been such a solid point guard, though. I mean, he was such a big name overseas in Spain, and we saw him in the Olympics as like a 17-year-old, just absolutely killing it. But he knows ball. He knows how to play the game. He knows especially the point guard position through and through. So I love having Rubio there once again to back up Garland. You don't take much of a risk with $6 million a year in case his injuries are too much. I think at that point, then you can give, if that comes to it, you can play Ochai Agbaji some more minutes. You got Raul Neto, which I didn't get at the moment because, is Brandon Goodwin still part of this roster? No, I guess not, which is upsetting. But I think Neto gives you at least some insurance until Rubio is healthy and ready to play again. So I think what the Cavaliers are doing, I think I just remembered what I was going to tell you guys earlier. This is what I was saying. We might as well run it back to see where we are. Because last year, to see if it's a flash in the pan, you have to see what players are right. So you go ahead and you fill some spots, you fill a couple holes. I think the Cavaliers have done that very well. But part of me feels that there's one big thing missing, one more big move missing that, we may or may not have expected going into the offseason, but it's the name Collin Sexton. That's going to be the name talked about now. We know all the other pieces. We know everyone else is locked down. We don't know who is or who is not going to be on this roster by the start of the season. But the biggest question mark is Collin Sexton.
Yeah, for me, the only thing that makes sense with bringing Sexton back is exactly what I said before. He's an asset to be either assessed or traded at some point. I think Collin and Karis are, carbon copies of each other. I think one's slightly older of the other, and one just had a huge injury. So who knows what you get back in those two. And the biggest problem with me with that, and talking about just the roster in general, is you have guys, what they can do already and the roles that they've played. You bring Collin back in the situation with Karis, with Ricky, with Ochai, with Isaac. But these are all guys that could potentially be starters.
I remember Isaac Okoro when I was just mentioning the five.
Exactly. Come on. Logan, that's what I'm saying is like, listen, if we can get the starting, let's just make a fake starting five right now, even though we know the four are pretty much set in stone. Is Darius Garland, Lauri Markkanen, Kevin Love, oh my God, Evan Mobley, and Jared Allen. And then whoever your two guard is, which could be Karis, Sexton, Rubio, Isaac, Ochai. But all those guys I just listed, one of those guys is going to be the starter, and everyone else,
3 of them are going to the bench,
are coming to the bench with Kevin Love, Robin Lopez,
Jetty,
Dean Wade, Lamar
Dylan
Stevens,
Windler,
Chetty. It's just insane. That's my only problem is like we could be if you bring Sexton in, you could be potentially, and I'm sure people will argue that JB will figure it out. You're going to give JB a lot. You're going to give anyone a lot to handle outside of maybe like Greg Popovich, like all that talent, and like they will not know what to do with all that talent for the first half of that season. Like you'll get to December, and if we're above 500, we might be lucky. Like that's just what I think, because it's hard to manage so much talent like that in the NBA. You only have one ball to go around, and it's crazy. It's crazy to think that you could potentially still end up with Collin Sexton at the point in time.
Yeah, what still makes me nervous about what we've done and what we still need to do as far as free agency, we saw last year Collin Sexton, the presence we missed from him was that go-to head down, get bucket scorer. Yep. Levert, I think, never truly got comfortable. Maybe a full season underneath will help a lot. I get that. Agbaji still has a ways to go, even coming out of college, at creating his own shot. Mm-hmm. I still think we're missing that one piece. And you talk about maybe being 500 in December because of talent. I think that's true. I also think it's true that we're coming off a bad stretch to end the season. Mm-hmm. And I know players get time off, they develop. I get that. We're probably not going to come out playing the exact same way, but there's clearly still that hole, and that hole still hasn't really been fixed. Granted, Rubio going down didn't help us, and that definitely gave us a lot of problems just from a stability standpoint. But I think that's what the Cavaliers still are looking for, is that go-to scorer. And I know all the Sexton lovers right now are probably like, it's Collin Sexton, you moron. That's who we're talking about. That's who you need. Probably. I don't know, dude. I'm just saying there's definitely still one spot on this Cavaliers team. We need that J.R. Smith 911 shot clock down shot type of guy. That's who I want. That even like here's a lesser known name that I would like. Someone like a Terrence Ross. Just someone that like can get a bucket, you know, who is probably not going to be too expensive. There's definitely guys in the market that can play that role, can play it not as good as Sexton, but good enough and on a lot cheaper deal. I think the Cavaliers could still make some moves like that.
Yeah. And so, Logan, just to like start wrapping it up here, I think the one thing that I can't really argue about right now is that you can watch Darius Garland kind of carry the load after Collin and Ricky went down, and man, you know, his back started acting up and whatnot. The thing about all the people we have right now on the roster is like, hey, if someone does go down for whatever reason, knock on wood, God, where's some wood?
God, you know, where's some wood?
I swear I'm not jinxing that, but you know, knock on wood, someone's I just made my dog start barking. You know, we have quality guys to step up, and that'll be the one thing that I will give. But Logan, closing thoughts. What do you think is going to happen in the next few days here? Are we done? Is Collin coming back? Definitive answer I want from you right now.
We're not done. The only thing I can't give you, the indefinite thing I can't give you, is what happens to Sexton. But there's no way we're done when a guy named Collin Sexton's on our roster. Less and less spots available, less and less money is available. But there's no way we can be done with the season. It's totally possible they just signs a qualifying offer and we are done. But at the end of the day, you know, expect a video soon here, fans, when it comes to covering the Collin Sexton, because now everything else is set in stone. All eyes, all attention gets point towards what is next for the two guard out of Alabama.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, Cavalier faithful, it's me and Logan today, but Jeff and I did do a couple videos later or earlier this week. Go check those out. Obviously, moving forward, we got the Summer League to look forward to. Collin Sexton news, whenever that may happen, we will comment on it. Whether he's here, whether he's gone, we will comment on it. But if you guys like the video, make sure you're leaving a like, leaving a subscribe, leaving comments. Let us know what you guys think so far. Free agency, draft, Darius Garland signing, Collin Sexton still not signed. And with that all being said, we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.